Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1910 Cleveland Naps AL MLB baseball season. Again, the Naps were playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball, and they were playing in League Park too. League Park had been redone. It was the second version of League Park. The old League Park was made out of wood. It was like a grandstand, kind of like a high school football place, and the new facility was a modern stadium, the first modern stadium in Cleveland history, and we had to keep up with the other cities. And this new League Park is the one that we're more familiar with. And the Cleveland Naps, who would become renamed the Cleveland Indians in 1915, would play there until 1946. So they had a 36-year run in the new concrete, steel, and brick facility. And it was mostly demolished in 1951. The Naps had a tough year in 1910. They finished in 5th place, record of 71 and 81, 10 games under 500, winning percentage of .467, 32 games out of first. The first place team was the Philadelphia Athletics, who were 102 and 48, winning percentage of .680, very, very good. Second place, the New York Highlanders, 88 and 63. They would be renamed the Yankees in a few years. Third place, the Detroit Tigers, 86 and 68. Fourth place, the Boston Red Sox, 81 and 72. Fifth place, the Cleveland Naps, 71 and 81. Sixth place, the Chicago White Sox at 68 and 85. Seventh place, the Washington Senators, 66 and 85. And eighth and last place, the St. Louis Browns were 47 and 107, winning percentage of .305, 57 games out of first. So Cleveland had a new version of League Park in 1910. The bench seats were replaced by individual seats. So before this, you didn't have your own seat. You're just on a bench, a wooden bench. The new seating capacity was 21,000. And before that, the old League Park had only 9,000. There were 2 decks. Now, the dimensions of the field, it was 385 feet to left field, center field 505 feet, and right field only 290 feet. However, there was a wall, very high wall, that extended 400 feet from right field because it was so short. And the wall was 40 feet high and 400 feet wide. And the bottom part was cement, 20 feet, and the top part was a 20 feet of chicken wire. So they were trying to make it harder for guys to hit home runs. It was a 6-month rush job to put steel, brick, and concrete and make it into a baseball palace. The cost was $325,000. Just imagine, of course, inflation since then. Now, the attendance for the Cleveland Naps in 1910 was 293,456. This was a 6-year low for an average of 3,861 per game. And it was mostly because the team did not play well, did not have a good winning record. So it was kind of sad because they had this new wonderful stadium, but not many people came. The Cleveland population in 1910 was 560,000 people, the 6th largest city in the United States. A notable event happened in 1910. Glenn Curtis flew an airplane from Euclid Beach in Cleveland to Cedar Point over near Sandusky. That was a big thrill, and it was the longest over-the-water airplane flight in history, so people were very excited watching Glenn Curtis pass by on that airplane trip. At League Park, home plate remained in the northwest corner, and that meant that in left field, the sun was in the players' faces, which was not a very good arrangement. There were 9 ticket windows to cut down on the lines for fans coming to games buying tickets. Ticket prices were $1.25 for a box seat, $1 for a rear box, and 75 cents for the rest of the stadium of League Park. 1 million bricks were used in the building of League Park. The ladies' restrooms were carpeted and had easy chairs. And there was a visitors' clubhouse for the first time in Major League Baseball history for a team. Previously, in other stadiums, visiting players would arrive in uniform. And then after the game, they would go back to their hotel and, shower and change. The seating capacity was doubled. On opening day, the band played Hail the Conquering Heroes before the game. And 18,832 came to the home opener, and that set an opening day attendance record. The team had a nickname in 1910 that the sports writers gave them, the Molly Maguires. It was a rebuilding year. 44 players played for the Cleveland Naps. Addie Joss had a sore arm. Cy Young was not dominant anymore, and Bill Bradley and Elmer Flick were at the end of their careers. So it was the end of an era. On May 12th, the Naps were no hit by Chief Bender of the Philadelphia Athletics, and on August 20th, they were no hit by the New York Highlanders' Thomas Hughes for 9 innings. However, New York could not score, and Cleveland won that game 5-0 in 11 innings. Now, the manager for the Cleveland Naps in 1910 was Deacon McGuire again, and he actually was a catcher for one game. Had batted 3 times, had 1 hit, and an average of .333. So he played one game, but he was our manager. Now, McGuire had played for the Cleveland Blues in 1888 and the Cleveland Naps in 1908, and of course in 1910. He was the manager of the Cleveland Naps from 1909 to 1911, Deacon McGuire. Now, the starting lineup for the Naps, Ted Easterly was the catcher. Easterly hit .306, very good, 16 doubles, 6 triples, 55 RBIs, 10 stolen bases in 110 games. And Easterly was with Cleveland from 1909 to 1912. Ted Easterly. At first base, we had George Stovall. Stovall's average was down. He hit .261, 19 doubles, 4 triples, 52 RBIs, 16 stolen bases in 142 games. And Stovall was with Cleveland from 1904 to 1911. George Stovall. Napoleon Lajoie was our second baseman again. Lajoie had an incredible year. He batted .384. Unbelievable. 51 doubles, 7 triples, 4 home runs, 76 RBIs, 26 stolen bases in 159 games. And Lajoie was with Cleveland from 1902 to 1914. And he had a very exciting race with Ty Cobb for the batting title. They were fighting. They were competing for a prize of a car from the Chalmers Automobile Company for the guy with the highest batting average. And in the end, both Ty Cobb and Napoleon Lajoie got those cars. Baseball Magazine reported this about Napoleon Lajoie, quote, "No manager ever worked harder than Lajoie. Now, of course, he wasn't manager anymore. No manager ever fought more fiercely than he for the supreme laurel crown of the baseball world, the pennant. And yet this elusive banner floated ever just beyond his reach. And try as he would, he could never reach it. He worried over this failure more probably than anyone will ever know. His work suffered in consequence. Lajoie allowed his own record to become sadly marred solely through a desire to reward his employers and the good people of Cleveland who had supported him so long with what they desired, the pennant of the American League." Well, anyway, so Lajoie was freed from managerial responsibilities, and that's probably why his batting average was so high. He could just concentrate on playing. Now, the Napoleon Lajoie Ty Cobb batting title race grabbed the nation's attention, and the car prize was a Hugh Chalmers was an automobile magnate, and the prize was his company's flagship product, a Chalmers 30 Roadster, which cost $1,500. At the time, the other popular car was the Ford Model T, which cost between $450 and $600. Lajoie led the league in hits with 227, and he set the league record in doubles with 51. Now, it turns out the end of the season, they were very, very close, and of course, we've talked about this already. The last the last day of the season was a doubleheader, and Lajoie had the St. Louis Browns were trying to help him, and the third baseman was playing in short left field, and Lajoie had 7 bunt hits down to the left side of the infield, and in the end, Ty Cobb was awarded the record of winning the batting championship, but then both guys got the cars from this company, and then years later, some baseball statisticians found that Cobb actually 2 of his hits, or he was awarded 2 hits that he should not have, and they indicated that that actually Lajoie was the winner. So anyway, there's still confusion about that. They both finished very, very extremely close, and it was an exciting thing. The batting race in 1910 between Napoleon Lajoie and Ty Cobb. Now our shortstop in 1910 was Terry Turner. Turner hit .230, 14 doubles, 6 triples, 33 home runs. 33 RBIs, 31 stolen bases in 150 games. And Turner was with Cleveland from 1904 to 1918. Terry Turner. Bill Bradley was at third base. Bradley had a very tough year. He hit .196, 42 hits, 3 doubles, 12 RBIs, 6 stolen bases in 61 games. Bradley was with Cleveland from 1901 to 1910. He was released in August, so this was the end of Bill Bradley's time in Cleveland. He had done an awful lot. Played very well. He'd had 10 years and had some fine years with Cleveland, and so it was goodbye and thanks to Bill Bradley. Now in the outfield, we had Briss Lord, regular outfielder. Lord batted .219, 46 hits, 8 doubles, 7 triples, 17 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 58 games. This was Briss Lord's second and final year in Cleveland, and he continued as a Major League Baseball player until 1913. Briss Lord. Joe Birmingham was another regular outfielder. Birmingham hit .229, 11 doubles, 2 triples, 35 RBIs, 18 stolen bases in 104 games. Birmingham was with Cleveland from 1906 to 1914, and he was actually the Cleveland manager until 1915. Joe Birmingham. Another regular outfielder was Jack Graney, who played left field. Graney hit .236, 13 doubles, 9 triples, a home run, 31 RBIs, 18 stolen bases in 116 games. He was with Cleveland from starting in 1908, and then from 1910 to 1922, long run. He was our leadoff man. Then he became the Indians' radio announcer from 1932 to 1953, Jack Graney. Now the bench players included Harry Niles, who played some outfield and second base. Niles batted .213, 51 hits, 6 doubles, 4 triples, a home run, 18 RBIs, 9 stolen bases in 70 games. Niles was from Buchanan, Michigan. He died in Sturgis, Michigan in 1953 at age 72. Career average of .247 with 12 home runs and 152 RBIs. Niles played for the St. Louis Browns, New York Highlanders, Boston Red Sox, and Cleveland Naps between 1906 to 1910. So this was the end of his MLB career. On June 30th, 1908, the Red Sox were playing the Highlanders, and Niles led off the first inning with a walk and then was caught stealing. And then Cy Young was the pitcher, retired the next 26 batters and had a no-hitter close to a perfect game. On August 3rd, 1910, a game between New York and Cleveland, Tom Hughes retired 28 batters, and then Niles had a 10th inning single to break up that no-hitter. Harry Niles. Another bench player was Art Kruger, who played some outfield. Kruger batted .170, 38 hits, 6 doubles, 3 triples, 14 RBIs, 12 stolen bases in 62 games. Kruger was from San Antonio, Texas. He died in Hondo, California in 1949 at age 68. He had a career average of .232, 6 home runs, and 115 RBIs. Kruger played for the Cincinnati Reds, the Cleveland Naps, Boston Doves, and Kansas City Packers between 1907 and 1915. Art Kruger. Harry Bemis was a spare catcher. Bemis batted .216, 36 hits, 5 doubles, a triple, a home run, 16 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 61 games, and Bemis was with Cleveland from 1902 to 1910. So this was the end of Harry Bemis's time in Cleveland. He did an awful lot of fine work for the Cleveland Naps. Harry Bemis. Neil Ball played some shortstop. Ball batted .203, 25 hits, 3 doubles, a triple, 12 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 54 games. And Ball was with Cleveland from 1909 to 1912. Neil Ball. George Paring played some third base. Paring batted .221, 27 hits, 6 doubles, 3 triples, 8 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 39 games. Paring was with Cleveland from 1908 to 1910, so this was the end of George Paring's time in Cleveland. George Paring. Grover Land was a catcher. Land batted .207 with 23 hits, 7 RBIs, a stolen base in 34 games. Land played for Cleveland from 1908 to 1911, and then in 1913, Grover Land. Shoeless Joe Jackson made his arrival in Cleveland, the famous Shoeless Joe Jackson. He was an outfielder. He batted .387. Oh my golly. 29 hits, 2 doubles, 5 triples, a home run, 11 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 20 games. Jackson was from Pickens County, South Carolina. He died in Greenville, South Carolina in 1951 at age 64. His career average was .356. Incredible. 54 home runs, 785 RBIs, 1,772 hits. Jackson played for the Philadelphia Athletics, Cleveland Naps, Cleveland Indians, and Chicago White Sox between 1908 and 1920. He won a World Series in 1917 with the White Sox. He's in the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame. He's mostly remembered for his role in the 1919 World Series Chicago Black Sox scandal. The White Sox players took money to not play well and to intentionally try to lose games, and they did against the Cincinnati Reds. Major League Baseball Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis banned Jackson and 7 other players for life for their role in that scandal after the 1920 season. However, Jackson led both teams in the 1919 World Series in several statistical categories. He set a World Series record with 12 hits in the 1919 World Series. So there's been a long debate until now. Should Shoeless Joe Jackson be in the Hall of Fame? He's not eligible because of this scandal, because he was banned from baseball. In 1911, he hit .408 with Cleveland, the 6th highest average since 1901. Babe Ruth said Jackson was his model for batting, and he set the Indians and White Sox records for triples in a season and career batting average. He's ranked 35th among the 100 greatest MLB players of all time. The Sporting News in 1999, that was in the Sporting News in 1999. His father was a sharecropper. He came from a very poor family. Sharecropper, these guys, they're farmers who don't own their land. Jackson, when he was 10 years old, almost died of measles and was in bed for 2 months, was paralyzed, and nursed back to health by his mother. At age 7, he was working in a textile mill, working 12-hour shifts. He was uneducated. He was illiterate, did not learn how to read and write. In restaurants, he couldn't read the menu. He would wait until his teammates would order, and then he would order something that they had ordered. At age 13, he was playing for a textile mill baseball team, and he was given a baseball bat, which he named Black Betsy. His nickname, Shoeless Joe, came from a textile mill game. Jackson had blisters on his foot from a new pair of cleats, so his feet hurt. He took off his shoes to bat in the game, and he hit a triple in his socks. And a fan said, "You shoeless son of a gun, you!" And then he got this nickname, Shoeless Joe. It stuck with him for the rest of his life. One game he didn't wear shoes. And in 1908, he started his pro baseball career with the Greenville Spinners of the Carolina Association. He married 15-year-old Katie Wynn. They had a very good marriage. He was signed by Connie Mack for the Philadelphia Athletics to get into MLB baseball. Jackson had trouble adjusting with the A's. That was in 1908 and 1909. He only played 10 games with them those 2 years. he had trouble. He was a rural guy, a small town guy from the South, and he had a real sort of culture shock, and he was homesick. And he was a rookie. The veterans were mocking him, which was pretty standard for rookies. But apparently he really couldn't take it, so he kept going back to South Carolina. And so he spent most of the 1908 and 1909 in the minors because he just couldn't handle life in the big leagues in the big city of Philadelphia. In 1909, for the Savannah Indians, he played 118 games, hit .358. He was traded to Cleveland in 1910. Connie Mack finally gave up on him. In 1910, for the New Orleans Pelicans in the minor leagues, he won the batting title and helped the team win the pennant. 1911 was his first full MLB season, and he set a rookie record by batting .408. He was second behind Ty Cobb in hitting that year. He led the league with a .468 on-base percentage in 1911. He was traded to the White Sox in 1915, won a World Series title with the White Sox in 1917. In 1918, he worked in a shipyard during World War I. 1919, he hit .351. And in the World Series, he hit .375, had perfect fielding, which that was when the Reds won that series. 1920, he hit .382 and was suspended by because of the Black Sox scandal. The Jackson in the 1919 World Series had 12 hits, which was a record until 1964. 1921, he was acquitted by a Chicago jury. However, he had a lifetime ban by Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, along with a total of 8 players. Charlie Owens from the Chicago Daily News wrote a column titled "Say It Ain't So, Joe," which was a regretful tribute. And there was a legend of a boy outside the courtroom who said to him, "Say it ain't so, Joe," which apparently is not true, but became a popular story. Jackson proclaimed his innocence for the rest of his life. And he remains on the ineligible list. He's not eligible to be elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame until now. The U.S. House of Representatives, 1999, voted to encourage Major League Baseball to rescind his ineligibility. In 2015, the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum petitioned Commissioner Rob Manfred for reinstatement, but Manfred denied the request for an official review. He spent 20 years after being banned from Major League Baseball playing semi-pro. He was a player-manager for a number of semi-pro teams in Georgia and South Carolina. In 1922, he moved to Savannah, Georgia, and opened a dry cleaning business with his wife. In 1933, he moved back to Greenville, South Carolina, and opened a barbecue restaurant and then he had Joe Jackson's liquor store in Greenville until his death. Ty Cobb one day visited him in the store, and there was no reaction by Jackson. Cobb said, "Don't you know me, Joe?" And Jackson replied, "Sure, I know you, Ty, but I wasn't sure you wanted to know me. A lot of them don't." Shoeless Joe Jackson had no children, but he raised 2 nephews. And he's depicted in the movie 8 Men Out, which is based on the book by Elliot Asinov, which is about the 1919 Chicago Black Sox story. And he's also depicted in A Field of Dreams, which is he's a ghost with other ghosts or players who come back and get to play baseball on this field built by this farmer in Iowa, played by Kevin Costner. And that's based on the book Shoeless Joe by W.P. Kinsella. There are statues and parks in his honor. In Greenville, there's a Shoeless Joe Jackson Memorial Park. In 2008, the Jackson home was moved to downtown Greenville, South Carolina, and became the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum. The address is 356 Field Street, which was his lifetime batting average. On July 25th, 1910, he was acquired in a trade from the Philadelphia A's, and he replaced Napoleon Lajoie as Cleveland's top hitter. Frank Gibbons wrote this, quote, Cleveland sports writer, "He could run like a deer, throw like an arrow, and hit like a demon." Ty Cobb was asked who was the greatest MLB hitter ever, and he said, quote, "That's easy, Joe Jackson, of course, a natural. Nobody could touch him, including me." Joe Jackson set Cleveland baseball records, average, lifetime average, and his lifetime average with Cleveland was 375. Unbelievable. And for one season, 408. That's still a record, 1911. Hits in a season, a Cleveland record, 233 in 1911. Triples in a season, 26 in 1912. Those are all Cleveland records. He led the American League in 1912 and 1913 in doubles. On June 30th, 1912, he tied a record by having 3 triples in one game. I'm reading a fine book called Fall from Grace, The Truth and Tragedy of Shoeless Joe Jackson by Tim Hornbaker, 2016. In 1908, he was a rookie in Philadelphia, very unhappy in the big city, very homesick. He had a superstition against being photographed. And he was Cleveland purchased him from the New Orleans Pelicans for $6,000. On July 30th, 1910, and then Jackson stayed with New Orleans till the end of the season there. And after the season was over, the Pelicans won the Southern League pennant, and he came up and played for Cleveland for 20 games. For that pennant, the players on that team in New Orleans they each got a solid gold watch fob. After the 1910 season, Jackson said this, quote, "I hit 'em and start running. If they get me, I have no kick coming, for I'm doing the best I can." Shoeless Joe Jackson. Wow. Another outfielder was Elmer Flick, a bench outfielder. Flick batted .265, 18 hits, 2 doubles, a triple, a home run, 7 RBIs, a stolen base in 24 games. Elmer Flick played for Cleveland from 1902 to 1910. He was released in August, so that was the end of his MLB career, and he'd had a fine, tremendous Major League Baseball career and was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Elmer Flick. Another bench player was Maury Rath, who played some third base. Rath batted .194, 13 hits, 3 doubles, 2 stolen bases, scored 5 runs in 24 games. Rath was from Mobeetie, Texas. He died in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania in 1945 at age 58. Career average of .254 with 4 home runs and 92 RBIs. Rath played for the Philadelphia Athletics, Cleveland Naps, Chicago White Sox, and Cincinnati Reds between 1909 and 1920. He won a World Series title in 1919 with the Reds. Rath went to Swarthmore College. In the 1919 World Series, he was the batter hit by Eddie Saccott as a sign that the fix was on in the World Series. The fix was on, so that meant the Chicago White Sox players were not gonna try to win. That was very sad. In 1918, Rath was in the U.S. Navy and missed the baseball season because of World War I. After he retired, he ran a sporting goods store in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. He took his own life at age 58 after poor health for a couple years. He had a very high on-base percentage and got a lot of walks, which was not recognized at the time. Maury Rath. Art Thomason was another outfielder. Thomason batted .171. He had 12 hits, a triple, 2 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 20 games. Thomason was from Liberty, Missouri. He died in Kansas City, Missouri in 1944 at age 55. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Naps in 1910. He was the player-manager for the Rock Island Islanders in the Mississippi Valley League between 1922 and 1923. Art Thomason. Nig Clark was a spare catcher. Clark batted .155. He had 9 hits, 2 doubles, in 58 at-bats, 2 RBIs in 21 games. Clark was with Cleveland from 1905 to 1910, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. However, he continued in the major leagues until 1920. Nig Clark. Cotton Knopp was a shortstop. Knopp batted .237, 14 hits, 3 doubles, a triple, 11 RBIs, a stolen base in 18 games. Knopp was from San Antonio, Texas. He died in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1967 at age 77. A career average of .184 with 11 RBIs. Knopp played for the Cleveland Naps between 1910 and 1911. In 1916, he was in the minors, and he was the second New Orleans Pelican, only player in the history of the Southern Association to have an unassisted triple play on August 8th. So that's really something. Cotton Knopp. Eddie Honhurst played some first base. Honhurst batted .317, 20 hits, 3 doubles, a triple, 6 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 18 games. Han Horst was from Covington, Kentucky. He died in Covington in 1916 at age 31. Career average of .204 with 8 RBIs. Han Horst played for the Cleveland Naps in 1910 and 1912, and after he retired from MLB baseball, he was a police officer in Covington, Kentucky. In 1914, he shot a suspect during an arrest, and the suspect died. And he was found blameless after an investigation. However, Han Horst became guilt-ridden, developed alcoholism, he couldn't sleep, he had stomach pains, and he committed suicide with his service revolver. His death certificate indicated temporary insanity. Very sad. Eddie Han Horst. Dave Callahan played some outfield. Callahan batted .182, 8 hits, a double, scored 6 runs, 2 RBIs, 5 stolen bases in 13 games. Callahan was from Seneca, Illinois. He died in Ottawa, Illinois, in 1969 at age 81. Career average of .200 with 2 RBIs. He played for the Cleveland Naps in 1910 and 1911. Dave Callahan. Roger Peckinpah played some shortstop. Years later became the Cleveland manager. Peckinpah batted .200, 9 hits in 45 at-bats, 6 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 15 games. Peckinpah was from Wooster, Ohio. He died in Cleveland, Ohio in 1977 at age 86. Career average of .259 with 48 home runs, 740 RBIs, 205 stolen bases. As an MLB manager, his record was .500 and .491, winning percentage of .505. Peckinpah played for the Cleveland Naps, New York Yankees, and Washington Senators and Chicago White Sox between 1910 and 1927. He was the manager of the New York Yankees in 1914 and the Cleveland Indians manager between 1928 and 1933 and also 1941. He won a World Series title with the Washington Senators in 1924. That's their last MLB title in Washington. He was an excellent defensive shortstop and a very strong leader. He was the American League MVP in 1925. In 1921, he won the title with the Yankees. In 1925, he won an American League title with the Senators. In 1914, he was the Yankees manager for the last 20 games of the season at age 23, the youngest manager in MLB history. In the 1925 World Series, he had 8 errors, an MLB record. But the Tribe became general manager between 1942 and 1946. He was a very calm player and manager. After he retired from MLB, he was a manufacturer's representative for the Cleveland Oak Belting Company and retired in 1976 at age 85. He developed cancer and heart disease before his death and was buried in the Acacia Masonic Memorial Park in Mayfield Heights, Ohio, in the Cleveland area. Peckinpah had 4 sons with his wife Mildred. Roger Peckinpah. Sid Smith was a spare catcher. Smith batted .333, 9 hits in 27 at-bats, a double, 3 RBIs in 9 games. Smith was from Smithville, South Carolina. He died in Orangeburg, South Carolina in 1961 at age 77. Career average of .247 with 2 home runs and 40 RBIs. Smith played for the Philadelphia Athletics, St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Naps, and Pittsburgh Pirates between 1908 and 1915. He was the first head football coach at the Citadel, the military college of South Carolina, and had a record of 2-3-1 in 1905. He was the baseball coach at South Carolina in 1915 and had a record of 6-11. Sid Smith. Bert Adams was a catcher. Adams batted .231. He had 3 hits and 13 at-bats, scored a run in 5 games. Adams was from Wharton, Texas. He died in Los Angeles, California in 1940 at age 49. Career average of .202 with 2 home runs and 45 RBIs. Adams played for the Cleveland Naps and Philadelphia Phillies between 1910 and 1919. He's buried in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. Bert Adams. Herman Bronke was an infielder. Bronke batted .200, 2 hits and 10 at-bats, scored a run, stole a base in 5 games. Bronke was from South Manchester, Connecticut. He died in Somers, Connecticut in 1968 at age 83. Career average of .241 with 1 home run and 24 RBIs. Bronke played for the Cleveland Naps, Chicago Cubs, St. Louis Cardinals, and St. Louis Browns between 1910 and 1922. He's the first person from Manchester, Connecticut to become an MLB player, Herman Bronke. Pat Donahue was a utility player. Donahue batted .167, 1 hit in 6 at-bats, struck out twice in 2 games. Donahue was from Springfield, Ohio. He died in Springfield in 1966 at age 81. Career average of .212 in 118 games with 35 RBIs and 3 home runs. Donahue played for the Boston Red Sox, Philadelphia Athletics, and Cleveland Naps between 1908 and 1910. So this was the end of his MLB career. His brother Jiggs Donahue was also an MLB player. Pat Donahue. Jim Rutherford played some outfield. Rutherford batted .500, 1 hit in 2 at-bats in 1 game, which was on July 12, 1910. Rutherford was from Stillwater, Minnesota. He died in Lakewood, Ohio in 1956 at age 69, and his MLB career was just with the Cleveland Naps in 1910. Jim Rutherford. Simon Nichols played some shortstop. He played in 3 games, did not have a bat, therefore did not have a batting average. Nichols was from Germantown, Maryland. He died in Baltimore, Maryland in 1911 at age 28. Career average of .251 with 4 home runs and 58 RBIs. Nichols played for the Detroit Tigers, Philadelphia Athletics, and Cleveland Naps between 1903 and 1910. So this was the end of his MLB career. He went to the Maryland Agricultural College. He died from complications of typhoid fever. His mother died when Nichols was 5 years old. Simon Nichols. Now the pitching staff, our ace pitcher in 1910 was Cy Falkenberg. Falkenberg, as a hitter, batted .183 with 15 hits, a double, 4 RBIs, a stolen base in 37 games. Falkenberg's pitching record was 14-13 with an ERA of 2.95, 37 games, 29 starts, 18 complete games, 3 shutouts, and a save. Falkenberg was with Cleveland from 1908 to 1911 and then in 1913. On August 15th, Falkenberg pitched a complete game at League Park, and he won, which Cleveland won 18-3. However, he gave up 14 runs in the last 2 innings and a total of 23 hits. So interesting, kind of hard on his ERA. Cy Falkenberg. Second in the rotation was Willie Mitchell, who batted .159, 10 hits and 63 at-bats, 2 RBIs, struck out 15 times in 35 games. Mitchell's pitching record was 12-8 with an ERA of 2.60, 35 games, 18 starts, 11 complete games, and a shutout. Mitchell was with Cleveland from 1909 to 1916. Willie Mitchell. Cy Young was near the end of his career. Young batted .145. He had 8 hits, 55 at-bats, 3 doubles, a triple, 5 stolen bases in 21 games. Young's pitching record was 7-10 with an ERA of 2.53, 21 games, 20 starts, 14 complete games, and a shutout. Cy Young played for Cleveland from 1890 to 1898, and then from 1909 to 1911. He won his 500th career game on July 9th, a 5-2 victory against Washington. He's the only MLB player to win 500 games. He pitched the opening day in the new League Park, and Young had pitched the opener in the old one when the old League Park opened in 1891. Cy Young, on a game on May 4th, Cy Young pitched. U.S. President William Howard Taft was at the game. On a June 30th game, Cy Young was out at home, attempting to steal home at age 43, and he won his 499th game. On July 19th, he won his 500th game, and the Sporting Life reported that Cy Young, quote, capped the most remarkable pitching career in baseball history by recording his 500th victory, a unique feat requiring 21 years of continuous effort, which has no parallel in baseball annals and may never be repeated by any pitcher now before the public, with the possible exception of the illustrious Christy Mathewson. Cy Young. What a guy. Another pitcher for the Naps in 1910 was Elmer Kostner. Kostner batted .313 with 15 hits, 48 at-bats, a double, 3 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 27 games. Kostner's pitching record was 5-10 with an ERA of 3.04, 27 games, 13 starts, 8 complete games, a shutout, and 2 saves. Kostner was from Piper City, Illinois. He died in Fairbury, Illinois in 1959 at age 73. His career record was 5-10 with an ERA of 3.18 and 56 strikeouts. Custner played for the Cleveland Naps, Chicago Cubs, and Cincinnati Reds between 1910 and 1914, so he was a rookie in 1910. Elmer Custner. Spec Harkness was another guy in the rotation. Harkness batted .140, 7 hits and 50 at-bats, a double, a triple, 3 RBIs in 26 games. Harkness' pitching record was 10-7 with an ERA of 3.04, 26 games, 16 starts, 6 complete games, a shutout, and a save. Harkness was from Los Angeles, California. He died in Compton, California in 1952 at age 64. Career record of 12-9 with an ERA of 3.37 and 85 strikeouts. Harkness pitched for the Naps from 1910 to 1911, so this was the extent of his career. He was in the minor leagues until 1915, and in the Northwestern League, he threw a no-hitter in the minors in 1915 on May 20th, had a record that year of 8-18. In the minor leagues, his career record was 99-94. He appeared in a 1933 old-timers team that barnstormed across the country. Spec Harkness. Fred Link was another pitcher. Link batted .167, 7 hits and 42 at-bats, a stolen base, struck out 12 times in 22 games. Link's pitching record was 5-6, with an ERA of 3.17, 22 games, 13 starts, 6 complete games, a shutout, and a save. Link was from Columbus, Ohio. He died in Houston, Texas in 1939 at age 53. Career record of 5-7 with an ERA of 3.30 and 60 strikeouts. Link pitched for the Cleveland Naps and St. Louis Browns in 1910. That was the extent of his MLB career, and they called him Laddie. Fred Link. Addie Joss had his final year in Cleveland. He batted .111. He had 4 hits and 36 at-bats, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, struck out 21 times in 13 games. Joss's pitching record was 5-5 with an ERA of 2.26, 13 games, 12 starts, 9 complete games, and a shutout. Joss pitched for Cleveland from 1902 to 1910. He got a sore arm in 1910. On April 20th, he threw a no-hitter in Chicago. However, he developed a torn ligament in his elbow. On July 25th, he pitched his last game, and for the rest of the season, he rested because of this sore arm. He and his family rented a cottage in Sandusky, Ohio, which was a resort area at the time, and his children played on the beach. He was very worried about his future because he didn't know if his arm would come back. And, of course, he died before the 1911 season. Very tragic. Addie Joss. George Collar was another pitcher. Collar batted .143, 5 hits and 35 at-bats, an RBI, struck out 13 times in 12 games. Collar's pitching record was 6-4 with an ERA of 1.60, 12 starts, 8 complete games, 2 shutouts. Collar was from Athens, Ohio. He died in Battle Creek, Michigan in 1924 at age 34. Career record of 32-43 with an ERA of 3.17 and 285 strikeouts. Collar pitched for Cleveland from 1910 to 1914. They called him Crumb. He went to Ohio University, was a 3-sport athlete there, played baseball, football, and basketball. The newspaper called him the best Ohio fullback in the past 25 years in the 1920s. In 1909 at Ohio University, the Athena yearbook recorded this, quote, "At the age of 2 months, he could walk. At the age of 2 years, he could throw a stone from his back window, hitting 4 out of 6 passers-by. At the age of 4 years, he never missed." Collar developed a conflict with Ty Cobb. One time he hit Cobb with a pitch. The next time, Cobb hit a grounder to the first baseman. Collar went over to cover first, and Cobb had the intent of spiking him. However, he missed and fell to the ground. Collar stood over Cobb and threatened to, quote, put him out for the rest of the season if he tried that again. Collar was a tough guy. In one game, he was knocked down by He knocked down a line drive with his bare hand. Another time, a ball hit him in the ankle. Another time in his shoulder, but he pitched 11 innings. Connie Mack called Collar, quote, a man who can win against odds, one who will live through lots of outs, lots of hits, and come out with a victory. After he retired, Collar went to the American School of Osteopathy in Kirksville, Missouri. managed the school baseball team there and coached the basketball and football teams and became the valedictorian when he graduated. In 1921, he was strong and athletic. He suffered from chronic nephritis and diabetes and died young at age 34. George Collar. Another pitcher was Harry Fanwell, who batted .033, 1 hit in 30 at-bats, walked twice, struck out 16 times in 17 games. Fanwell's pitching record was 2-9, with an ERA of 3.62, 17 games, 11 starts, 5 complete games, and 30 strikeouts. Fanwell was from Patapsco, Maryland. He died in Somerville, New Jersey in 1965 at age 78, and his MLB career was just with the Cleveland Naps in 1910. Harry Fanwell. Heine Berger was another pitcher. Berger batted .143, 3 hits and 21 at-bats, an RBI, a stolen base, struck out 7 times in 13 games. Pitching record was 3-4 with an ERA of 3.03, 13 games, 8 starts, and 2 complete games. Berger pitched for Cleveland from 1907 to 1910. This was the end of his MLB career, and he'd done very well with Cleveland. Heine Berger. Ben DeMott was another pitcher. DeMott batted .167, 3 hits and 18 at-bats, got a walk, struck out 3 times in 9 games. DeMott's pitching record was 0-3 with an ERA of 5.40, 6 starts, 6 games, 4 starts, and a complete game. DeMott was from Green Village, New Jersey. He died in Somerville, New Jersey in 1963 at age 74. Career record of 0-4 with an ERA of 6.19 and 15 strikeouts. DeMott pitched for the Cleveland Naps from 1910 to 1911. Ben DeMott. Fred Blanding was another pitcher. Blanding batted .111, 2 hits and 18 at-bats, scored a run, had an RBI, struck out 3 times in 6 games. Blanding's pitching record was 2-2. With an ERA of 2.78, 6 games, 5 starts, 4 complete games, and a shutout. Blanding was from Redlands, California. He died in Salem, Virginia in 1950 at age 62. Career record of 46-46 with an ERA of 3.13, 278 strikeouts. Played for the Cleveland Naps from 1910 to 1914, so he was a rookie. They called him Fritz. In his MLB debut in September of 1910, he had a 6-hit shutout against Walter Johnson and the Washington Senators. He was the ace of the 1909 Michigan Wolverines baseball team with a record of 18-3-1. After he retired, he operated a Ford Motor Company dealership and service center in Lansing, Michigan. He also had an automobile business in Roanoke, Virginia in the 1930s and 1940s. Blanding's father died when he was a child. After college, he was a pitcher for the Detroit Athletic Club, and the newspaper recorded this, quote, Fred Blanding, the human catapult from the University of Michigan, was on the firing line for the DAC. Fred's very name breathes terror. In 1912, Blanding was praised in the press for his, quote, manly qualities and makeup. After he asked the team president, Charles Summers, he wanted to be returned to the minor leagues. Quote, he felt that he was not giving value received for his salary, and that in justice to the team, he thought he had better go back to the minor league. Summers declined and told Blanding to put the defeats behind him and, quote, shake off his hoodoo. In 1913, the Sporting Life writer Ed Bang wrote this, quote, Fritz always proved himself a willing worker and game to the core. In 1915, he retired from baseball and went to his farm in Birmingham, Michigan, and said, quote, he could, quote, make just as much money and have a heap more of fun. He devoted himself to agricultural pursuits on the farm. Fred Blanding. Walt Doan was another pitcher. Doan batted .286, 2 hits and 7 at-bats, 2 RBIs. He had a walk, struck out twice in 6 games. He had no decisions as a pitcher with an ERA of 5.60, 6 games and 4 starts. Doan was with Cleveland from 1909 to 1910, so this was the end of his MLB career. Walt Doan. And finally, Harry Kirch was another pitcher. Kirch pitched 2 games, did not bat, so no batting average. Did not have any decisions and an ERA of 6.00 in 2 games and 3 innings pitched. Kirch was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He died in Pittsburgh in 1925 at age 38. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Naps in 1910, and they called him Casey. Now, after the season, the World Series was played, And the Chicago Cubs appeared. They were the National League champions, and they were defeated by the Philadelphia Athletics, the American League champions, 4-1. So that's the story of the 1910 Cleveland Naps. Tough year, but they played hard. It was an end and a beginning. God bless those fellows who played for the Cleveland Naps in 1910 and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Civil War veterans and the Spanish-American War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, Euclid Avenue Electricity, fans of the Free Stamp Statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Quicken Loans Arena enthusiasts, Severance Hall stalwarts, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters and Gladiators rule, Cleveland, City of Champions. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple. Cleveland is a plum. It's been 70 years since 1948. This is our year. Go Tribe. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.